Okay, so we're gonna start recording. Hello everyone, and this is Gabi Abdelgadir. Welcome to the Grace, Peace and Balance radio show. And I have a very special guest for you today, Mr. Dwight R. Heck. Dwight is the founder of Give a Heck Financial. He founded that company after he struggled for so many years in a job that was only paycheck to paycheck. We will talk a lot about his experiences. He is a single dad who raised 5 kids on his own and lived a very hard life, and he struggled a lot. And I want to learn, we all want to learn how he came out of that struggle. So welcome, Dwight.
Hi, Gabby. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. So happy to have you here today.
Thanks for inviting me.
Okay, so talk to us. So you raised 5 kids on your own and you had a job. Tell me about that.
Yeah, well, it started prior to that, obviously. I was married,
Okay,
right?
yeah, obviously.
Got divorced and initially had joint custody of my kids with my ex, and things fell apart where the kids did not want to be raised by her anymore. And, in that joint situation, they asked if they could move in with me full time. And that happened back in 2008. So I became 100% single parent of these kids, 4 daughters and a son. And, before that, I would be able to work my career because they'd be with their mom a certain amount of time. So I knew which days I could work, which hours I didn't have to chase them around to extracurricular activities and to school or whatever the case may be. And I'd be able to, I had inked out, I guess, or irked out, or what are you going to say, cut out myself a good livelihood in order to support my kids and myself. But all of a sudden, when I became a full-time dad, now I was 100% responsible for all their extracurricular activities and what they did. I had to get them to school, making them supper 7 days a week, getting them to their extracurricular activities. Well, that took a hit on my career because my career in financial education and planning is normally done, some of it's done during the day, but a good majority of the people connection is done in the evenings because I did it at people's homes or I did it in their businesses. So all of a sudden I went from being able to work, let's say on an average month, 15 days of the month. I was cut back now to 2-3 days in a whole month. So it caused financial strife within my financial situation. And it actually revealed to myself that I was in some ways a hypocrite. It was hypocritical what I was teaching and telling others. I had stopped living it myself. I wasn't necessarily living the rules of the money game and budgeting that I was teaching others. And it became a cold, hard reality that I needed to, start to implement that myself, especially when my income went from a 6-figure income down to some years half of that because I could not work as much. So that's basically how I got into a situation of being a single parent, trying to still run my business and keep it profitable.
Yeah, but you were an employee. You were an IT consultant at some point?
Yes, I was. I left that industry in, it would have been just prior to spring of 2002. In 2001, I had some major health issues, and I left that industry just shortly after September 11th. I had some severe health issues, and in 2002, his approach to, you should leave that industry. It's creating serious issues for your health. My neurologist and doctor didn't want me doing it anymore because with my tenacious personality, I'm the type of person that can't give up. So when I was in that industry as a computer IT consultant, I was working 250 hours a month sometimes when I didn't have my kids. And it was basically, I wasn't getting sleep. I'd go days without sleep. I was the type of person that, I wanted to, so I'd please one person and a few others weren't happy because I was only one person with a team of people sometimes, but I couldn't get done as much as everybody had expectations. I took it personally. It affected my health. So I was approached in 2002. Took the opportunity to completely pivot from one industry into finance, which, I couldn't even spell finance at the time. And, it was a cold, hard reality that I was living a life on a hamster wheel, going to work, go home, get paid. And I didn't, I wasn't living life on purpose. It was by accident. Mm-hmm. And they said, you know what, we'll teach you how to live that life on purpose. And we'll teach you how to teach others to do that. Are you interested? And I jumped in with both feet, but with my tenacious personality, the person that was training me about 6 weeks after I started in this industry, after I got licensed to do financial services and insurance, I basically told my trainer I wasn't interested in his help anymore because I didn't see that it was focused on family unity and value and education. It was more about what a lot of the traditional financial services is in the world, not just Canada and the US, but it's about selling a product. It's not about the human condition, about building relationships and helping educate people how to stop living in quiet desperation.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's amazing. So you still run your own company, at least you're your own boss. Now you choose your own hours.
Oh yeah, I've been choosing my own hours and working at the beat of my own drum since literally fall of 2002. I've had circumstances within the last 18 years where, obviously people want to control what it is that you do. And I just pivoted away from that to a point where I completely control my 168-hour calendar. Nobody controls me. Even people will say, well, when you own a business and you're an entrepreneur, your clients own you. Well, in a sense they do. When I give them my time, they're my boss, but my schedule, I choose to control. So what hours I choose to share with others and say that I'm available, that's still within my control. Right. Yeah. So yeah, I basically control my own destiny, and that's the best life to live.
I know. I'm so jealous right now because I'm not at that point right now. But one thing you don't know and nobody knows about me, I'm also a licensed life insurance agent. I'm also a mutual fund licensed.
Oh, okay.
With Primerica. You've heard of that company before.
Oh, of course.
And I'm a district leader with Primerica.
Well, that's fantastic.
But only for Ontario, just for Ontario, right? Like the province of Ontario. I don't go further, but it's something that I do on the side. It's also started like you. I just wanted to learn more because I make good money. It goes out as fast as it comes, Dwight.
Yeah,
seriously. Like, and I only have one child, but it goes out as fast as it comes in. And then I said, okay, something is not right here. I'm not doing something right. Like, so that's how I got into it. And I had a friend, she goes to me, welcome, join. And I did the presentation and then I went into it and I have like a few clients and, sell life insurance and RESPs and RRSPs and all that stuff. So yeah, so it is good. Even if you don't do it as a business, it's good to learn. So yeah, I admire that. And I'm jealous actually right now. Okay, so let's jump into another subject. How did you survive, besides the financial, how did you survive raising 5 kids without any support whatsoever? Did you have like your parents or your sister, siblings helping you?
Of course, my extended family tried supporting as best they could, but at the same time, both my sisters, I have 2 older sisters, they both have children. They had spouses, they still do, and they were living their own hamster wheel of life. They were, of course, I could call them and ask for help for certain things. My parents live an hour away from here in a small community called Camrose, where I was born and raised. They're still there. they're an hour away. They'd try to help as best they could too. But really when it came down to it, I had to, you know, harshly suck it up and just realize that I had to do whatever it took to give my kids the life that I felt that they deserved. And the best way that I knew how was just to, you know, kind, compassionate, caring. I had good days, I had bad days. You know, we didn't always see eye to eye, but I was the parent. This is the way it needed to be. We could have conversation about certain things. And, I just did my best, obviously, because I had 4 daughters. I have 4 daughters, pardon me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, circumstances of certain feminine things that come up, I'd communicate with family or friends, but I got to a point where I found that just being genuine and watching my tonality and body language, I could have open conversations with my children from, young youth into teenagers into adults, and we still have great communication, even my 4 daughters and my son, and we talk about those feminine challenges that hey dad, they call me up, you're at the store, I need this feminine product. Okay, well, I'm at the aisle, here's this and that, what do you want? Or we'd be out shopping and I'd say, hey, we're here, let's go down this aisle so you can get what you need. Okay, dad. It wasn't, I think uncomfortable conversation between parents and children a lot of times in my experience is created around, the typical family where there's a husband and a wife, and the wife possibly, or the kids or a family member will make it uncomfortable. And, that's, oh, don't talk about that. You're around your dad, or don't talk around your grandpa, or your uncle or brother or whatever, because they make it an uncomfortable thing. But when in reality, it's a fact of life. And why is it uncomfortable? It's because people make things uncomfortable.
Yeah,
So
true.
I'd have open conversations. And I remember when more than a couple daughters coming to me saying, this is what's going on. Oh, okay. Well, you have your, we've talked about this, you've heard about it. This is what young ladies experience when you hit puberty, and this is what's going on. Let's deal with it. And, did it work 100% of the time? Was there uncomfortable moments? Absolutely there was. But it's how I dealt with it.
Yeah.
It's not what you say, it's how you say it, right? Again, I wasn't perfect. I'm a work in project all the way up to them becoming adults, and even adults having conversations with any of my 5 kids. Sometimes I put my foot in my mouth, I got to take a glass of water and wash it down. But, at the end of the day, it was a struggle raising them. I did it with a little bit of help, but I'd say 95% of it was me.
It was you.
Yeah, I didn't want to lean on other people. And it's not because I'm afraid to ask for help. I just realized that other people were in circumstances in their own life, and it wasn't really my right to add more burden or have them worry about me, because I, really at the end of the day, worry is such a waste of energy. And I've struggled and fought with that my whole life, and teach about to other people how to get rid of worry. And I didn't want to add more worry to them, because I was already in a state of quiet desperation and worry. Mm-hmm. How am I going to pay the bills? Right? I can't work as much. My expenses are still the same. All of a sudden now my expenses are really increased, my utilities, food, et cetera, et cetera. So I just, took one step forward and did my best, some days better than others.
Yeah, because the thing is, like, when we talk about single parenting, I think people assume it's only like mom, it's only like females are single parents, but that's not the case. Like, because I think I mentioned yesterday on the live that at one of the conferences for my son that I attended, a gentleman came in with one of his daughters. Actually, he brought 3 of them. One of them was into the acting. So, and he was telling me that he raised them. One of them, the younger one, was 2 years old when the wife left them. 2, I think 3.5 and 6 they were. He raised them on his own. They were like preteens when I met them. He said he tried to get into a relationship once, didn't work out. He told her, just get out of my face if you cannot deal with my children. And he said he could never get into a relationship up until his kids are grown. And he raised 3 amazing girls all by himself. So it's not only females that are single parents. There are guys who are raising amazing kids, just like you, Dwight. So yeah, kudos to you, mister.
Thank you. Appreciate that. But your comment about, I'm about that gentleman in relationships and making a decision. My decision, I decided to not, I went on the odd date, but it didn't work out. I decided this just wasn't in the cards because too many people wanted to tell me that I needed to have somebody in my life to raise my kids effectively, which really drove me crazy.
Yeah.
Because the stereotype and the stigma that others place on us is an illusion. It really is an illusion because it can be pierced and changed simply by associations and what we do. So I never got into a relationship. I hadn't been in a relationship for 15 years.
Yeah.
Intentionally, I sacrificed, and that part of me, and which a parent should do. When you have children, you have to stop living the lifestyle that you think you deserve when you were young, when you were didn't have kids. And for the couples that are listening to this, I've done lives on this. I just did one. Your responsibility is to your children to be present, to enjoy every moment of the way. There's still time left in your life to find that special someone once your kids are growing up, right? I'm not in a current relationship. I've been in a couple in the last 2-3 years, and realizing, the biggest thing I realized is that you can feel whole, you can feel appreciated, you can feel so many different things in life using gratitude, and you don't need somebody else to
make you feel good,
make you feel fulfilled. And it doesn't mean I want to be alone the rest of my life. It just means that I refuse to ever settle for anything less than the greatness that I've worked for myself and my family. I want that same level of greatness, meaning I want somebody to be living a life that doesn't mirror mine, but it complements mine and I complement theirs.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I agree totally. So something we need to talk about is also about discrimination. My book on discrimination. Did you grab a copy, by the way?
No.
Okay, you need to grab a copy.
Honestly, it's not that I'm not interested. I have, oh my goodness, amount of business people I know that are pumping out books, but yes, I will grab a copy. Most of the books, I'd say 90% of the books that I've ingested in the last 20 years are all audio, cassette tapes, CDs.
Okay. And then
I use Audible.
Anymore. Yeah. Oh, you use Audible. Yeah. I like Kindle as well.
I don't even have time to read because the amount of stuff that I read in a day, most people couldn't handle because of my finance business. So I do a lot of reading. So for me to sit down and actually enjoy grabbing a book, my mind wanders. It can't focus on it because I do too much. It's not a pleasure thing for me. So I use Audible, and I ingest books through Audible.
Okay.
So that's the biggest problem. I had somebody just reach out to me here recently that wanted, and I said to them, I have 7 books right now that are on my list in Audible. I have people that send me books, physical books, give me physical books. And I said, I'm just being honest with you. They don't get opened. It's not that I'm not interested in the content. It's that I've reached a point in time in my life that I need to ingest, just like podcasts. Podcasts, I couldn't read a podcast. I enjoy listening to it. And it's the same thing with books. But, again, I highly suggest you, if you haven't done it, do Audible.
Audible, right? Okay. So no, but for me, it is, you said 7. I have, I think, over a dozen that I haven't touched yet. I haven't had the time to touch, but I support my community whenever they launch a book. I do purchase because you support one another, right? So
I didn't even know. Honestly, I to be honest with you, I didn't realize you had a book. So I have no problems purchasing people's books. I just honestly, I'd be lying if I said I'd be rushing to read it because I have some really close friends of mine that have sent me their books in the last 2 years, and they refuse to do them in audio. They don't want to hire somebody. They don't want to read because it's not that hard, right? One of my friends, Tony, did his own Tony Watley, who's part of the Speakers, Authors, and Coaches too. Tony did his Side Hustle Millionaire book. He did it as an audio himself on Audible. It was very simple. You self-publish it up to it, and
Yeah.
right, it was really good. And otherwise, I wouldn't have read his. I listened to his book. I didn't read his book. I don't even own his book. I own his audio book.
Audio book. Okay. So for me, audios, I have a problem. It depending on the reader. If the reader is very soft spoken, it makes me fall asleep. Like I like a voice that has a little bit of power when it comes to audiobooks. Like, I don't know, like Think and Grow Rich. Have you listened to Think and Grow Rich in audio?
Yeah. I've read it. I read it years ago.
Yeah, not the book, but the audio part.
Yeah,
like
I have it on Audible, actually.
So that the voice, that guy has such a powerful voice, you will not get bored. Like, that is one. Another thing is for me, to give also my ears a break, because I'm like on a lot of Zoom meetings and a lot of meetings, things like that. I like to be quiet and hold an actual book, whether it's on Kindle or whether it's a soft, like maybe just about 45 minutes, like, 1 hour. I like to read. It keeps me I call it my sanity time, where I don't want to be disturbed. I don't want anybody to call, well, my son, nobody else would call me here. Like, and that is my sanity time. When I go to work, when I used to go to work, I take the train, and the train was my sanity place, because that is the only place that I had going from home to work and vice versa, where I have nobody calling my name. At work, it's Gab, 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 Gab. At home, it's mom, or it's the phone, right? So I call it so the train was my sanity time. So I like to read like in this, and then I hope all the upcoming authors make the fonts a little larger, because those tiny fonts are like killing that is when I would prefer Kindle or Audible.
Oh yeah,
because the fonts are like so tiny. Yeah.
Yeah, so the problem is with books and authoring books, because my book comes out next month if things work out properly. The problem is people make their books too obig. Like your book looks relatively it looks like an easy read. So honestly, if it's available if I can order it through Amazon or order it directly through you.
Whichever you prefer.
It doesn't look like it's too many pages, which is good, because
I would not buy anything that is 300, 400 pages. I don't have the energy for it. As soon as I look at it, I get exhausted.
Yeah,
so, no, I don't. No.
Most publishers will say that good books are anywhere from 20 to 30,000 words, right? Which can be 110, 120 pages or whatever.
That's it. That's mine is 120 something. Yeah. So that's that. Anyway, let's get to the discrimination. That's how we got about the book. So discrimination is something that I have seen over and over and over in my lifetime, which actually finally I managed to interview kids, in particular grade 6 and above in this book. I've interviewed kids who were discriminated against, whether it's race, whether it's skin color, whether it's culture, whether it's social status or disability. All that is racism for me. All that is discrimination for me. It's not only about black and white, because I have been discriminated by black people because they don't believe that I'm 100% black. I have been called names. Trust me, Dwight. So it's not only there is black versus black, there is white versus black. The Jew get discriminated, the Muslims get discriminated against, the blacks get discriminated against, and that is what it is. So, and then we have the social status. So this is where you come in. Have you been discriminated against as a single parent in schools and activities and things like that? Did anybody ever say anything to you that made you feel?
All the time.
Really?
All the time. Yeah, it happened. Because with the 5 kids, they were all in different, they weren't all necessarily in the same schools. And when I first got, separated, even before divorce, all of a sudden people that would communicate with me they'd walk across the road if they see me standing there. They'd go stand with other groups of people. It reminded me a lot of how high school is, where they have cliques, and you got the jocks, you got the nerds, you got the brainiacs, you got all the people, and they all go in their little cliques, and And, you know, as adults, that still exists, that people don't realize it. So I was like, all of a sudden I had leprosy or the plague, and, you know, whispering conversations, you know, all of a sudden people, you go walk by them to go into the school, or you're in the school walking down the hall, and, you know, the side glances and the little innuendos, under people saying things underneath their breath, or some would have the moxie to say things right to my face about, you know, oh, it must be so tough you know, having those kids and dealing with this, and, you know, or the people that were friends with at that time, and then she became my ex when we still had joint custody together, the people that she turned against me with lies and stories. And then so I got treated differently, and I didn't really have to worry too much about the administration. I was the one that was present when the kids, we were still together. I was the one that was present after the fact. So as the kids continued to grow up in a divorced family situation, the administration knew I was the person that was showing up to their boo-boos. They got injured, or they were sick, or they didn't have a lunch. Especially when the times that their mom had them, there was lots of times that I have to run lunches to school for them because mom didn't send a lunch, or forgotten, or whatever excuse that she had, because there was no valid reason to send your children to school without a lunch, unless you're dirt poor. But she, you know, she wasn't. She had support from me. So, you know, people would discriminate against me even in their extracurricular activities. Birthday parties were the worst, especially when I got full custody of them. I can still remember back in 2007, my daughter was going to have her, I believe it was her 12th birthday. Yeah, it would have been her 12th birthday. And we invited a bunch of kids, and we got RSVPs from a lot of them saying they were coming. One showed up.
What? Why?
I'm a guy. I heard about it after the fact from other parents that I had, you know, gotten to be friends with, that were also discriminated because of either sexual, you know, choice. You know, they weren't necessarily, you know, of the societies saying that men didn't have to be with women. So there was couples like that, you know, they befriended me, and we became friends, and they'd stick up for me. They'd tell me different things, and the whispers and gossips. And I'd even have administration people telling me stuff. And it just got to the point where, you know, people have a preconceived notion of what the family should be, air quotes to the listeners, so what the definition of a family should be. And then, you know, they segregate and they have biases against me and what I did, even taking my kids to extracurricular activities, like my daughters at one time to dance. And then as one stuck with dance, we get into the, you know, she was all the way into high school, competitive dance. I'd go to different competitions with her. I'd be the only dude there. I'd be the guy that would be trying to do their hair, or, you know, her hair at that time.
Yeah.
I'd be the guy, you know, I tried my best, and eventually I'd have to ask parents to do it. And I got to a point where I had parents, even that were in married situations, that I gained their trust. But it took time. I shouldn't have had to do that.
Time.
But the box of life for me was male.
Yeah.
Check that box, right? Yeah. So I got treated, because people think that, you know, because I'm a man, because I have different genitals, they, you know, they really felt that women are a better parent. Yeah, or they couldn't trust me, or, oh my gosh, what's he doing to those children, or why isn't he doing this? When in reality, to the listeners, this is going to sound harsh, I was a better parent than probably 90% of the parents that walked in and out of that school. Because just because you're a couple doesn't mean you're good parents.
Yeah.
Bottom line, doesn't mean that couples aren't good parents. Doesn't mean you're good parents so because you're a couple. I've seen, especially in my 18 years in this industry, there's a lot of shit parents out there that ought to hand in their parent card and give up, right? They just, the kids are way better off in a single parent situation, because that single parent is forced to be the end all and be all for that family, and they always have to be present. It forces them to be a parent instead of shying away from it and dumping it all on their partner.
On their partner, yeah, I agree. But I just felt like for your daughter, when only one on her birthday showed up, how did she feel?
It was horrible. She cried.
I know. Oh.
And it scarred her for life. Even as an adult now, it still bothers her that she, you know, some of those circumstances. Has she accepted it? Yeah, it doesn't mean you'll ever forget. So she, you know, she had one of her friends from class. She had her cousin showed up, one of her favorite cousins, right? But out of the school people that were invited, one showed up.
Yeah. Did it get better over the years though?
No, we just she got to a point where she just didn't want to even try.
Invite, yeah. Okay.
She didn't even want to try. My other daughter, one of my other daughters, the youngest of the four girls, that same year we had a party for her. And the only reason people showed up to hers is that I decided to do it outside of my home. And I did it at the local swimming pool, had a party room you could rent. So I paid for everybody to go swimming, and then I rented a party room, got pizza brought in, and, you know, and which is absolutely ridiculous because those parents for the house party I was going to hold were invited to stay. They were invited, you know, it wasn't nothing in the invite say drop your kids off, come back and get them. It was like, hey, come on over. You know, there's gonna be lots of food. It's gonna be a good time celebrating Morgan's birthday. And a lot of those parents that their kids didn't show up, I knew them parents. I knew them. And that was even before I got complete custody of them. They were still going back and forth. So people were judging me even before I became a full-time parent of them. I got segregated and ostracized because I was a male, which is just ridiculous. The human condition, listeners, we're all human. Shouldn't matter if you're male or female. It shouldn't matter what you identify your gender as. Maybe you don't even identify yourself as male, female. You're still a human creature. You're still a human being. Yeah. And everybody deserves respect until such time that they do something that takes away that respect you have for them.
Absolutely. You know? Absolutely. Oh my goodness. We could talk for hours, but we are almost on top of the hour. So what advice would you give? Let's start with single parents. What advice would you give them?
What advice would I give single parents that are listening?
Men. Fathers.
Men specifically?
Yeah.
You know what? You're worthy. You're not what society defines you to be. You do have an emotional center. You do have the ability to be compassionate, caring, and kind. Increase your listening skills. Try not to be what men are wired to be, which is fixers. That was a struggle for me. Sometimes your kids just want you to listen. And you just, you know, lock your mouth, throw away the key. Yeah. Just give them what they, you know, just listen. And, you know, that was tough. And sometimes, you know, you're going to say things that are going to trigger them and it's not personal to you. You may take it personal, or other people will be surrounding you like family or friends, or you might want to talk about it with somebody, the challenges you're going through raising your kids. And people will give you their opinion because just like their butthole, everybody's got one, right? They're going to give you their opinion. You may not like that opinion, but learn who to associate and talk to as well, because there's going to be people that you're going to say, oh, this is what happened. And they're going to give you an opinion based on what? Unless they're in the same circumstance, their opinion should not become your reality. I'll say that again. Do not let the opinions of others become your reality. So single dads out there, you have what it takes to be a great parent. You know, if you need to, reach out to me, DM me, right?
Yeah, I will be putting his info on the link when I post this. So anybody who needs more information, you can get in touch with me. I can connect you, or you can get in touch with him directly. Okay, so another thing is for people who are struggling financially, in like 2 sentences, what do you advise them?
Budget, goal set. You got to work on the 6 inches between your ears before even those 2 things will happen. And what I mean by that is if you can't tell yourself with all confidence that you have what it takes to get charge of your life, budgeting and goal setting aren't going to happen. So you need to start with mental baby steps What are you putting into your brain? What are you reading? What are you listening to? You know, you got to change your 6 inches and associations to people. Good people, such as myself and Gabby, can help you, you know, pull yourself out of that quiet desperation, so that then you can implement goal setting for your immediate life, your future life, right? And you can learn how to control your finances through an active, consistent, integrated budget.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, you know, there is no need for shopping. Some people are just addicted to shopping. Yeah. Do you really only just spend money on what you need, not on what you want? Right?
Yeah, I taught
Yeah.
that to my kids since they were little. Then
Yeah.
they'll drove them crazy. Is that
Yeah.
a need or a want?
Yeah.
And it's
Exactly.
sad how many people you have to explain the difference to, because really society's failed us and hasn't taught us something as simple as a need and
No.
a want. And they haven't taught us the fact that when you go buy something to try to make yourself feel better, it's a temporary dopamine hit. And then you're stuck with the financial downfall after the fact, especially if you're hurting financially.
I know. Yeah, that's it. Oh my God, that was amazing. So I'm going to ask you 2 questions that have
Sure.
nothing to do with our conversation. If there are 3 countries you would love to visit before you die, what countries would they be? 3.
3 countries that I want to visit before I die.
Yeah.
Well, I really want to visit um, Egypt.
Yay. I
Right?
don't know why I knew we were going to say Egypt. Honest to God. Okay.
It's one of my favorite things that I talk about it quite often. That's my next major journey. I've dreamt about going to Egypt for at least a decade.
Yeah.
My next country I'd like to see before I die would probably be Egypt. Not Egypt, pardon me,
No.
Germany, because my relatives are from Germany on both sides of the family.
Oh, okay.
And, you know, so I'm second generation Canadian. My parents are first generation Canadian. So yeah, I'd like to visit those 2 countries. And probably I'd say the next country I'd really like to visit is Italy, because I really want to go to Rome. As a Catholic, I'd really like to go and check out, you know, I
The
love history.
Vatican.
Oh, I love history. I love my faith. I don't love everything about it, but I love Christianity. And because yeah, some of the other places I've been already, I couldn't add that to the list, but I love going any place where there's history. And you know, I like art, I like museums. Last year I spent time in Greece, and I've spent time in the Middle East for a couple of weeks in Israel and Jordan. I've been to some really neat places, and usually it's based on my desire to see and appreciate what the world has gone through,
The history.
and
Yeah.
the history. And then I love art too. So
Yeah. Yeah. Art also, France is good at art also. Oh my God, the French. Oh, anyway, but yeah, excellent.
I'd like to go to Amsterdam, to be honest with you. I'd like to see, now I'm trying to think of the artist's name
The
now, the
dam.
museum. Pardon?
I don't know which museum.
My friend just went there last year, but I couldn't sneak away longer. Otherwise I would have started with him on their trip. I just can't think of his name now. He's one of the most famous artists in history, and his museums. And I met his great grandson actually in Edmonton. Went to an art exhibit, and I just can't think of the name. But anyway,
Yeah.
I'd like to go to Amsterdam too. So I'm going to add a 4th one.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. You're allowed. Yeah. Amsterdam. When you mention Amsterdam, for me, it's the dam, it's the flowers, the cheese, and the beer.
Oh,
Yeah. So yeah, no, I'm not a beer person, but the cheese they have, oh my God, amazing. And then of course they have nice chocolate and the flowers. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's a beautiful place. Anyway, so yeah, good question. Good answers. I like the
yeah.
fact that you started with Egypt. The second question that I had is, if one thing you need to fulfill or to learn before you die, what would it be?
Oh, one thing I'd like to fulfill or learn before I die. You know, a year ago, there would have been a lot of things for me to answer, but I've carpe diem. I've seized the day, and I've been doing all the things that I want to learn. Um,
Is it a
honestly,
difficult question?
it is a very difficult question
Okay, can I give
because
you my answer?
sure.
Okay, so for me, it is to be like a good pianist before I die. I love piano.
Fair.
So a good pianist, like a good pianist would actually put me to tears. That's how much I love it. So that would be mine.
I guess, yeah, I still, you know, I at one time when I was younger played guitar and you know, I haven't played it since I was a teenager. So I guess one thing I still think about that I'd like to achieve is because I played classical guitar. I'd rather just, you know, I'd like to learn just the ability to play chords, not play classical, because classical guitar is not about chords, it's about picking the strings. I'd like to learn about playing like campfire music just to be, because I love the outdoors and I like sitting around a campfire, and I have a big fire pit in my backyard when, you know, obviously not during the winter, but you know, so yeah, playing guitar, I guess that would be something I'd like to pick up and learn before I pass away, so that I can actually play those campfire tunes and get everybody singing together.
Oh, that is so sweet. Yeah, thank you so much. I really enjoyed our conversation. I hope we can do this again. And any last word before we close?
Yeah, you know, everybody that's listening, just realize, never forget that you are worthy, and that with work and proper associations, you too can live life on purpose, not by accident.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you so much. And thank you for our listeners. And I will be putting his contacts and his information on the link when I post this. And wishing you grace, peace, and balance. Take care.